three filmmakers with nothing in common. They thought they had it all figured out. They don't just follow the movies, they make them. Alexander Pavlak, Mario Silvas, and Jamal Alexander are the makers on film.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Nothing. What's up with you?
Nothing. Mario won't be joining us?
No, apparently Mario's a big shot international brain surgeon and had to go and do one of his big shot international brain surgeries.
So what is he doing, actually?
He's a fucking sandwich delivery guy. He's delivering sandwiches. He got called in to work.
Okay. That sucks.
Yeah, but, you know, since we don't get paid for this yet, he has to actually do it.
Yeah. We don't get paid for the other thing, and we keep doing that.
Yeah, well, that's kind of one of the reasons why I didn't show up today, is because I had to fill out job applications. I did something that you told me not to do, but I did it anyway.
What did you do?
I bought a onesie.
Ugh. The Chewbacca one or the Darth Vader one?
The Darth Vader one, it's actually kind of nice. Like, the paint job on it is really, really well done.
Why?
I don't know, because somebody painstakingly painted this thing. Probably not by hand, but...
Why did you buy it?
Oh, because it's cool. Okay, so I went to Comic-Con here in town in Tucson this last weekend, and I bought this thinking, oh well, if I can't come up with a costume for Comic-Con, what I'll just do is I'll just get one of those Darth Vader masks, those new ones that change your voice, like Francis had in the Francis Build a Lightsaber video that we saw.
Yeah?
I'll just get one of those and maybe like a robe and some bunny slippers and a coffee cup that says, world's best boss on it or something like that, and just walk around Comic-Con like that, like I was Darth Vader who just woke up.
Okay.
Just figuring that the onesie is going to be, kind of a cutesy costume. So I go to Comic-Con this weekend here in Tucson, and I shit you not, there was 5 people. They all came together. They all bought onesies from wherever. They were all like Batman onesies, and they all wore them to Comic-Con.
Ugh. I was about to say, I didn't know the Comic-Con was happening this weekend. I would have gone, but now hearing that, I don't want to.
Well, there were better costumes than that. I mean, I kind of copped out a little bit. I went in my Star Trek T-shirt, which is just a yellow T-shirt with the command symbol on it from the first TV series, from the original show, and just black pants, and I had yellow shoes on that kind of matched the shirt. So
Anybody can walk in today's world. Anybody can walk in there in street clothes, be asked what you're wearing, and then just come up with a random sitcom character.
Well,
and be right.
See, I often do that. I'll either dress up like kind of wacky or have somebody in our party dress up kind of wacky, and then instruct them on several things to say when asked, who are you supposed to be? And and everything from making up your own like anime, just giving them stupid title and saying, oh yeah, it's an anime, and they'd be like, oh okay, that's cool, I gotta check that out, to whatever.
See, the dangerous thing there is that we live in the world of instant gratification via smartphones. They have Google. They can look that up.
Okay, you can do that here in Tucson because you get service at the Tucson Convention Center. When you're in Phoenix, you don't get service in the Phoenix Convention Center, especially when you're in the basement on the vendor floor. So you can tell people whatever you want, and they have to walk away from you before they can verify the information.
How did I miss this? Why did you tell me there was going to be a thing there?
I'm sorry, I thought you knew. I actually mentioned it on the show a few weeks back that it was coming up.
Was it a show I missed?
No. I don't know, what was 2 or 3 shows ago? Give me a second, I gotta go back to our page. Because if I see the title, it wasn't last week's show. I don't think. I think it was the week before that.
Well, did anybody do any? What was there? What were the booths? Who showed up this year?
I think it was either the nurse show or the one for the old films that we did. So the guy who writes Lady Death was there, which I was actually a little impressed by or surprised by because I see him in Phoenix all the time. I'm surprised he came to Tucson. But this one is this this is their 8th year and it was actually a pretty decent size. They were a little unorganized, and I'll talk about that later. But they had a lot of vendors. They had like a lot of local stuff, like Galaxy Comics and some of the other comic shops were present. Um, they had a bunch of cosplay models from the Phoenix area come down, selling their pictures and stuff. Which a lot of their I went with no money. Unfortunately, I was broke, so I couldn't buy anything. And they sell like their pictures for like $5 and $10. So I got like a bunch of cards, and I'm gonna go back and see if I can get some of these pictures from some of them. But there was a sword maker there who he, they had some professionally made swords that they get from like a factory or whatever, but he had some that he made himself, which looked really they looked unprofessional, but that was kind of the point. So they looked kind of cool, like they would be something you would make in your own backyard, like post-apocalyptic kind of swords or whatnot. They had kind of a really cool kind of vibe to them. They were all like $300 and $400 though, but they were really kind of cool, and they had made a Klingon bathlet,
Oh,
which was also about $300, but that one might be worth investing in.
okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
But 400. That one was worth $400.
I think it was like 300.
Mm,
Like 400 was their top end. 300 between 200 and 300 seemed to be about the average. There's maybe like a couple of daggers or knives that they did that were around $100, but the guy did say that everything was negotiable, so you never know.
hmm.
But I'm working on Phoenix Comic Con is now doing 2 cons a year. So which is interesting to me because instead of blowing their numbers up to over 100,000 people coming in, they're actually doing 2 cons a year now. So they're going to do one in, I think it's January, and then they're going to do one in July or August whenever they do their normal summer one. So I'm trying to get tickets for the January one. So if I get some, I'll let you know. I'll let you know, and I'll let Mario know, see if he wants to come in.
Cool.
And that one's by far the better one because I think more people put forth more effort as far as the fans go and the people who walk in. Because I didn't see a lot of people in costume. There was only like 3 people who were in Star Trek costumes at all, which this year it was funny. I was talking to one of the vendors, and the vendor's like, "Yeah, we bought a bunch of Star Trek like earrings and stuff like that, thinking that it would be big, and nobody's doing Star Trek this year." And I looked at her and I'm like, "The movie's coming out next year. It'll be big then."
Yeah.
Because there's a movie and then there's a TV show coming out like what is this, November? So there'd be another TV show coming out the January after the next con. So yeah, everybody's gonna be big into Star Trek again.
Well, they say 2017. They're not entirely sure what month though. So.
Well, the last I heard, it was January. So that's probably what they're shooting for because a lot of companies will do a show starting in January and then just do all the episodes back to back, so they don't have to stop for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Halloween and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. And then there was a guy there who was selling a comic book. Let me see if I can. I took a picture of it because I couldn't buy it because I want to go back and get it. Orbital Decay is the name of the comic book, and he bills it as Star Trek meets Archer.
See, I already. It's already a little too. There have been tons and tons of Star Trek parodies. I'm not entirely interested in that.
It's not a direct parody. It's a parody in which aliens and humans fly around on a ship. They're part of some sort of military or paramilitary organization, and that's about it. It's not a direct ripoff of or a direct spoof of Star Trek. I mean, one could look at it, as anything that would be military or organized. It could be like Battlestar Galactica or like Star Wars or whatever. But I read a little bit of his stuff, and it seemed very interesting, and I want to go back and I want to get some of it. So
I'm on their Facebook right now.
So yeah, I'm gonna if I can scan in the cards, that would be great. And I'm gonna at least write down everything, everybody that I talked to that I got a card from, and put it on the Flight in the Eye page for this year's Comic-Con. So, but yeah, it was actually kind of fun. Like I said, it was a bit bigger than it was. I think I went like 2 years ago, and it just you walked in a small circle and you were done. So
Okay.
so the vendor floor is very big. I went to a couple of the panels. The panels were okay. They still need a little work there, I think, but they're coming along nicely. But it took them a while. They're a bit disorganized because I got media passes, and it took me a while to find the table where the media passes were because they didn't have like a sign or a label or anything on it, and it was amongst other vendors. So I thought it was a display table that wasn't fully set up yet. Because I went like Friday when everybody was setting up, so it's like 5 o'clock Friday. And then when I finally found the table and got to it, I was like, yeah, I'm here. I need a media pass. I gave him my ID, and the guy's looking through it, and he's looking through it, and he's looking through it, and he looks at his friend at the table, and he's like, "Is there a different spreadsheet for media passes?"
Okay.
And the woman's like, "Yeah, there is." So they spend another like 2 minutes trying to find the spreadsheet because apparently they had tons of spreadsheets about all this stuff. And the guy's like, "Sorry about this." I'm like, "Okay, it happens." He's like, "Yeah, you can't really search through the spreadsheets for anybody." And I'm like, "And let me guess, it's not in alphabetical order either, is it?" It's like, "Nope." So they're a bit disorganized in that regime, but otherwise, I had half a mind of going back to them like the next day and seeing if I could get like another set of media passes just to see if how disorganized they were.
See, that would have just been cruel.
It would have been cool, but it would have been something that I could have told them and been all like, "Look, you guys really need to tighten up your security in these points." I wouldn't have just gotten extra media passes and skipped out. I would have wrote them a letter and letting them know that happened. Because I would like to see that portion of the Comic-Con streamlined in. And I was the only one waiting on media passes. They had media passes and vendor passes and some other kind of passes there. So had there been more than 2 people there, then it would have been a clusterfuck.
You keep getting these media passes because of Flight in the Eye, or because of because of this show?
Originally because of Flight in the Eye. That's the reason why I got media passes for Phoenix Comic-Con since 2011, so the past 5 years. I haven't. I include this show now when I ask for media passes, just because this is what I'm most currently doing. But yeah, it's because of this show and because of what I've done in Flight in the Eye that I get those.
Yeah.
And you could probably get it too. You could probably write some of these people and say, "Look, I'm on this webcast. We talk about comic books and movies and blah."
All right.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna try to get like maybe 6 passes for Phoenix Comic Con. So for you and if you want to bring a friend, and Mario, and if he wants to bring a friend, and for me, and I don't know if I can make a friend by that point.
Okay. All right.
So I'm gonna try to do that, and if you guys want to go, we can go, and if not, it's a 4-day thing. I don't know if I'll go for all 4 days, but like Saturday and Sunday are the best days to go, so I might just go for the weekend and come back.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, but I'll definitely keep you in the loop on that. And Yeah. So that's it.
Oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's joining Walking Dead.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
So far.
Well, I mean, everything he's usually pretty good in whatever he's in.
Yeah.
Whether the piece is good or not is beside the point. He's usually pretty good at it. So like he was in The Losers, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was good at that.
Yeah, he was really good in that. It was weird because all the actors were good, but for some reason it wasn't a good movie.
The fact that they were all good together kind of makes that movie better than it actually is.
True.
Not only were they good, in their parts, they were good together, and I really kind of enjoy. I thought it was a fun movie.
It was fun, but I had much higher hopes for it.
It was lows better than the A-Team.
I kind of liked the A-Team. I know you didn't like it, and I understand why people didn't like it. But on the other hand, it's not any more ridiculous than like the Fast and Furious series.
Well, there's charm in the Fast and the Furious, and Quentin Rampage Jackson is a fantastic fighter, and as an actor,
No, he did lack a little bit, and it would have been nicer to see like Terry
and
Crews.
Sharlto Copley barely has anything to do with the main goings on of that movie after a certain point. Like after they get him out of the crazy house, he really kind of like doesn't factor in a whole lot. If he does, he's very he doesn't take your attention a whole lot.
No, he doesn't. He's more comic relief, and then they use him as the decoy at the end. So
they shuffle him off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Murdoch really doesn't have much to do in some of the plots anyway, other than being just crazy and comic relief and whatnot. But speaking of the A-Team, Benedict, what the hell is his name?
Cumberbatch?
No, the guy who played Face on the A-Team.
Bradley Cooper.
No, in the original A-Team.
Oh, did he pass away?
No, he's going to be at Phoenix Comic-Con in.
Oh, sorry about this. He's going to be at the Comic-Con?
Dirk Benedict, that's his name. Yeah, he was in the original version of Battlestar Galactica in the 1980s, in 1979 and 1980, and then he was also Face on the A-Team. He's going to be at this Comic-Con. He got really old. He did not age well, but
yeah, that kind of happens
when you don't have money for facelifts.
I'm sure he has money stowed away.
He has enough money to live on, yes, but he doesn't have money for facelifts.
I mean, how much do those cost nowadays?
They're probably a lot cheaper than they used to be, but. Kevin Sorbo is going to be at the Comic-Con. It's called the Fan Fest, and passes are starting at only $10.
I'm really sort of okay. I like Kevin Sorbo, but lately, you know what? No, I'm gonna stop it. I like Kevin Sorbo and leave it at that.
Sean Mayer is going to be there. He played the Doctor on Serenity. Karen Gillan, who was she was in Space Avenger. She was the green chick, I think. And then she was also in Doctor Who. She played the one of the companions.
You say Karen Gillan?
Yeah, Karen Gillan.
Huh.
Cute little redhead. She played Amelia Pond. And
Who?
And then Morgan Shepherd's going to be there too. Who?
Oh, okay. She was the blue chick from that.
Oh, she was the blue chick. Okay.
Because the Zoe Saldana is the green chick.
All right. And then Morgan Shepherd's going to be there.
Who's Morgan Shepherd?
Give me a second. He, oh wait, that's not the one I want.
It's really weird that Karen Gillian is going to be there, considering how much. I'm looking at her filmography coming up. You know, she's in the Big Short.
Is she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's carved out a nice little career, especially considering that she's a Doctor Who companion. They don't usually make it over to America too often.
Well, when they try, they don't do too well, and she seemed to be doing pretty well. I'm surprised they were able to get her in a Comic Con, any kind of Comic Con, really.
Yeah, exactly.
She's in a movie with Emma Watson, Tom Hanks, and John Boyega. John Boyega is blowing up.
Yeah.
Before we really had a chance to sort of, pass judgment on him. He was in one movie that I've heard of, Attack the Block.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty young in that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so Morgan Shepherd, he's been in a lot of different things. He played the Vulcan science minister in a couple of the Star Trek series. He's done stuff here and there. I'm trying to see if he does some voiceover work for a lot of the cartoons. He was the Klingon commander in Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country. Which
Okay.
his son, though, if you watch Supernatural, his son plays Crowley on that series, and they were actually both in an episode of Doctor Who where they played the same character just at different stages in the guy's life, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
His son is Mark Shepherd,
Yeah.
who's been in a lot of stuff. A lot of times he plays the bad guy just because he has the
face for it.
well, he's got the face for it, but he's got the British accent too.
What is it with us and British accents sounding evil to us?
It probably goes back to Revolutionary War. Because like I said, if you watch National Treasure, which is all about American history and the time around the Revolutionary War, the bad guy is Sean Bean, who is, English.
I'm just gonna throw this out there, just spitting in the wind here.
Yeah.
Sean Bean dies in that movie.
In National Treasure?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Really?
No, they arrest him. It's
survives the end of a film. Nice.
Yeah, well, it's a Disney film, so.
Well, who does make the Lord of the Rings films?
That's an interesting question.
Universal or Paramount?
I don't know.
Lord of the Rings trilogy. I know Weta Works with Peter Jackson is the one that actually makes it, but who produces them? That is
New Line Cinema, but they're not big enough to do that on their own. Damn it.
Or Wingnut Films is Peter Jackson's thing.
Yeah.
No, it is Weta Workshop.
New Line, Wingnut Films, the Saul Zantes Company.
Who distributes it?
New Line Cinema distributes it in the U.S.
I don't care. Never mind.
I didn't think New Line was that big.
No, it really isn't.
Unless one of these is like a really like a foreign company. I don't know. But wow, that's interesting. All right. So anyway, Have you seen anything good on TV lately?
Boobs.
Poops are always good. But I meant more of a story than, just boobs
Uh,
and body parts.
I was watching a little bit of South Park.
Okay. The new season?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think?
That I'm not shocked that it's the first time in years I've watched South Park.
Yeah, this season isn't all that great, I'll admit. Um, they're doing this thing where they're kind of making fun of cities and their historical art districts because they give them cutesy names now. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really impress me any. That should be a side joke. That shouldn't be like a thing that spans the whole season. So I don't know if they're building up to something or if they're just kind of riffing on everything and just kind of running out of shit to make fun of.
Yeah, at least The Simpsons and Family Guy aren't so reliant on whatever the hell's happening in pop culture or just in the media that week. Like they can go off and do like their own thing without having to tie it with whatever's popular or trending. I think that's the sort of the double-edged sword that South Park has.
Well, I mean,
They're
South
really
Park.
good. They're really good at making fun of those things and really incorporating them like as themes for the show
Yeah.
or that episode. But if sometimes there's just not a whole lot out there to really do well.
Well, I mean, they don't have to do that. They choose to do it, and they have done things where they've pulled from more recent history instead of doing stuff that's uber topical. But you're absolutely right. It seems like they don't have anything that's going on right now to make fun of, which is kind of odd because there's always something to make fun of.
By the way, new footage from the Star Wars is coming out this Thursday,
Okay.
November 12th.
Today, yeah, that would be Thursday because that's the day before my birthday.
Oh, I'm gonna get you something, buddy.
Well, you don't have to, but I would appreciate.
You know what? I will. Yeah, I'll think of something.
Okay,
All right.
that works. All right. Other than Star Wars thing coming out, anything else that's new?
Not that I can. They're still going through with the Ghost in the Shell movie. You know what Ghost in the Shell is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, they're still going through with that, and they've already cast the guy with the eyes, Balto.
Okay.
Which again, they're whitewashing their property, and just from the sound of it, it's not going to be set in Japan anymore.
Really?
Well, that and the fact that everyone they've cast so far is white.
Interesting.
It's kind of like Dragon Ball Z, and then casting nothing but white people. I mean, casting the lead characters as white people? Who would be that dumb? They'd never do something like that.
That's interesting that they're going that route with it, though.
Okay. There's a long silence there. I thought you left.
No, somebody else was talking to me. Sorry about that. But it's just interesting that. Well, it's kind of like what was that? The Airbender, the last Airbender. It's like you kind of have this notion that the characters are going to be more Asian-like because it's an Asian property, but then they did what they did with it.
And that movie suffered for it, I believe, because nobody wanted to see it. But that it was just a bad movie, I guess. But
I was gonna say that's not what made it suffer. The fact that it was poorly done made it suffer.
well, I guess at least they kept the original setting, or at least I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Did they keep the original settings? Probably, but they're moving the property Ghost in the Shell out of Japan, and it's such an integral part of everything that happens in that story. I'm afraid it'll lose something.
Is it saying where it's going to be taking place? Probably New York, if it's going to be all white people, or probably London.
Yeah. I'm guessing my guess is either one of three places, the three main go-tos for American blockbusters, which are New York, Los Angeles, and
Chicago.
Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, I would almost give you Miami, but I don't think Miami would work well with something like that.
And the only thing I can think, the only city in America I can think that could remotely come close, really doesn't, but could remotely come close to replacing Japan would be Tokyo, would be San Francisco. Just from an architectural and cultural standpoint, it's a very large Asian American or Asian population there.
Have you seen Big Hero 6?
Uh, no, it's one of those movies I keep saying I'm willing to watch, I'm going to see, and I just never get around to it. I will watch it eventually.
A very interesting thing that they did was the movie is set in what is essentially San Francisco, but it's a more Asian version of San Francisco. So it's called something different. I forget what it's called. But when you see the skyline, there's that pyramid building that's the Prudential building, I think it is, in San Francisco, and there's like the bay and Alcatraz. You can see those monuments or those parts of the skyline there. But yet there's other Asian-y things going on in a more like Japanese style architecture, and it's very interesting that they did that. So yeah, maybe San Francisco can be a substitute for Tokyo because it does have a high Japanese um,
Population.
Thank you.
You know what I found interesting about that I was aware that they were going to create this new city based on San Francisco, or sort of an amalgamation of San Francisco and Tokyo.
Hmm.
That they didn't just set the movie in Japan, because really, when you think about it, they've never some of their really classic stuff or really like important stuff. They've never implicitly stated they were in America. So a lot of kids don't realize that Beauty and the Beast is probably set where that story originates, which is France.
Yes. Well, I think in the cartoon, I think they do make reference to it being France or French or whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't do a lot of that. They just do it for the sake of the purists. They do that for the sake of the purists who know the story. Because it's like Cinderella isn't that a Russian tale?
Might be.
I know Anastasia is.
Anastasia definitely is, yeah.
Yeah.
Hercules is clearly set in Greece.
Yeah.
Tarzan is set on an African continent, but they are British explorers, so we'll give them that.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. Pinocchio is not supposed to be America at all. I think that's like London or something, isn't it?
I'm not entirely sure. I know that.
Well, no, I think it's Italy because it's Giuseppe is the name of the puppeteer.
That's true.
So I think it might be it's supposed to be Italian.
Yeah, that's very true. I didn't realize that just now. Okay, and Little Mermaid is actually a real folklore, but it's Scandinavian or Norwegian. I can't remember which one. I mean, I'm just saying, just set it in Tokyo and just, it's not like the kids are going to really care all that much about why all the Japanese people are speaking English.
Nobody ever thinks that. And like, if you watch that Tom Cruise movie where he was a Nazi,
Valkyrie.
yeah, Valkyrie. All the Nazis in there have British accents except for Tom Cruise. So
Yeah.
it doesn't. Again, we're making the British the bad guys for some reason, but it doesn't matter. None of that really matters when it comes down to the story.
Didn't they do something in that movie where, like, for a little bit they spoke German and then it just sort of shifted? Like, it was implied that everything else from here on is just English, or is just translated from German.
I think they did. I only saw it once, and I was a little disappointed in it considering the story and the subject matter. But they did something like that. I think the beginning of it where we see him lose his hand is done in German, and then after that the rest of it's done in English.
They did that in 13 Warriors too.
They did that in Mel Gibson's To Be or Not to Be. But the thing about that one is they had an announcer come on to say, for the remainder of the film, we will now be speaking English.
I never saw that.
It's one of his. I think it's one of his more obscure ones, but it's a fun one. It's one of my favorites. It's World War II. They're entertainers in Poland, and of course, he's Jewish, so he does this bit where he makes fun of Hitler, where he does a Hitler impersonation, and then to save his people after the Nazis come through and take everybody and put them in concentration camps, he dresses up as Hitler and saves everybody.
Right.
So it's a fun
Okay.
little thing that Mel Brooks did.
Oh, thank God! I was about to call you on that. You said Mel Gibson at the beginning, and then you said Jews in a positive light. I'm like, are you sure you're talking about Mel Gibson?
No, it's Mel Brooks.
Exactly.
Yeah, it came out, I want to say mid '80s. If you know who Mel Brooks' son is, Max Brooks, he has a little cameo in it. He's very young. He's like maybe 10 or 12, but you can't miss him.
Why does he come on and do one of his dad's bad rabbi impressions?
No, he hasn't changed much from the time that he was in that film to
Right.
now, other than the fact that he's gotten taller.
Okay.
But for those of people who don't know who Max Brooks is, he wrote the
World War Z.
he wrote World War Z, and he wrote the guide to a zombie apocalypse, or the survival guide to a zombie apocalypse, which was his first book, and he also worked on Saturday Night Live for a while. And
Who's worked down there that nobody realizes? One Iron Man.
oh my God, he did for like a season, didn't he?
Robert Downey Jr. was a part of that cast.
He was part of the cast that lasted for one season.
And you know who else was that nobody ever really gives credit to that was on there? Damon Wayans. He got fired from the show for wanting to be more spontaneous and doing his own thing. And as soon as he got fired from that, his brother Keenan, who was the producer, says, "You know what? Fuck Lauren. We're gonna go off and do our own thing." Signed with Fox, and that's how In Living Color came to be.
Well, Living Color was at the time a little bit better, or way better than Saturday Night Live was.
No, In Living Color and Mad TV, I thought were always better than Saturday Night Live, but they just never had. They didn't have the weekly big star coming on to kind of bolster.
Well, Saturday Night Live, it comes and goes. It's ebbs and flows. So it depends on their cast and how their cast is allowed to do their thing. Because like Norm Macdonald, who I think is absolutely hilarious, he gets fired after his first season on the show for being Norm Macdonald. And I think when he was doing what he wanted to do, he was funny. When he had to do what Lorne Michaels wanted him to do, it felt watered down. You can almost tell which one is which, almost.
He was on 18 episodes, and he hosted in '96. He hasn't hosted since.
Norm Macdonald?
No, Robert Downey.
Robert Downey? I'm surprised he came back because it was a cast with him and I forget who the guy is, but he's pretty big now. Give me a second.
Saturday Night Live, 1985 season.
Anthony Michael Hall. Anthony Michael Hall was on that same season.
Anthony Michael Hall was on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, for one season.
Huh.
It was they kept like 2 or 3 members of that cast, which were John Lovitz and Phil Hartman and I think somebody else, and then they got rid of everybody else.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm just trying to figure out who was part of that cast, who else got let go of, and then in the ultimate sort of haha, look at this, we're stars now. Because Damon Wayans is that guy, and you know who else was on that show? Elaine Bennis.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes.
Yeah, she was on when Billy Crystal was on, actually.
Yeah, it still blows my mind that Billy Crystal was on that show. Because he's so much better in everything else. Like, I don't associate him with that show at all.
He did a lot of characters on that show, which is some of the. He's gotten away from doing those kind of characters because the last time I see him do a character like this was Princess Bride, but he did like Fernando's Hideaway, and he came up with the catchphrase "You look marvelous," and he says it in a very kind of Frenchy accent. He did a very very good. He did a spot on Sammy Davis Jr.
Kind of hard not to. He's the one. Well, I guess they all sounded individual. Well, the ones you know of, because there were other members of the Rat Pack other than Frank, Dino, and Sammy, but nobody cares about those guys.
Well, for a short period of time, Jerry Lewis was part of that because him and Dean were a group or were an act together. Well, if you ever watch the original Ocean's 11, that's mostly the Rat Pack right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a TV film about that. They got Ray Liotta to play Frank Sinatra, and I just can't think of a more ill two characters that people that could look less alike, honestly. But they did have Don Cheadle as Sammy Davis, and that was good.
I can see that. I don't know. I can kind of see why they would have picked Ray Liotta. I mean, how long ago did this come out?
99.
Okay, then he was still kind of young then, so I can kind of see why they would have picked him. He doesn't sound like Frank Sinatra at all, but look wise, I can kind of see it.
It's always weird when they get like, as you get older, there's more celebrities or notable people that you've seen in your life. So it's always weird when you get to the point where they're now being portrayed on screen, and they get people to play them, and you just you have the real experience, like the person's still out there.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like, good.
Oh, Joe Montana was Dean Martin?
That too. I thought that was weird.
And then William Peterson as John F. Kennedy?
That was weird too.
Yeah, that seems like these guys were on drugs when they made up this cast.
Well, I know why they picked Cheadle. Cheadle's good.
Cheadle's the only one that kind of makes sense here.
And he's good.
Angus McFadden as Peter Lofton? Yeah, I don't see that either. Anyway, but I was just about to say something. I forget what it was.
So there was the story about how J.J. Abrams found this dying Star Wars fan. He was dying of some illness, and to kind of like help him to like fulfill your last wish, he lets him see an unfinished cut of The Force Awakens.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, today he passes away. But I just think it's so cool that before that happened, this happened for him.
That is very cool. And there's a movie that kind of was like that, where this guy who was dying from cancer wanted to see The Phantom Menace before he died. Yeah. So they break into Skywalker Ranch to see if they can find a copy of it. What was it?
Fanboys.
Fanboys, yeah. Excuse me. That was kind of a good movie, but that's very cool that life imitates art and all that, and that JJ actually did that for the dude.
Yeah, that is so cool.
I wonder if J.J. Abrams sat next to him and was all like, now, okay, this is going to be, epic kind of scene. We haven't finished the graphics here yet, but it's going to be really cool.
I doubt he did that, but I'm sure there was like a bunch of people like from the studio in there with him, making sure
Yeah, that he wasn't texting away the plots.
That sort of thing, but immensely cool that big that Hollywood reaches out to its fans like that? How many times do they actually kind of reward or interact with fans other than like some celebrities are cool and show up at like cons and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, but how often or are very active on social media and like talk to their fans, but how often do you see things like this happen?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And huh. It's very cool when they do that, and I'm sure that brought an immense amount of joy to the dude who saw it.
Yeah.
And you can't really say no to a guy like that. I mean, you could.
You could.
That'd
Yeah,
be a
in
real
fact,
dick
I'm sure
maneuver.
that sort of thing happens all the time. Like, I really want to see this movie, and
Yeah.
this is my story and stuff. And I'm sure a lot of times they just kind of like, let's send him a free whatever or whatnot, and kind of move on.
Hmm.
But no, they didn't. J.J. Abrams like went to bat and said, "Hey, let him see this before he goes. Hopefully, it makes him feel better." Oh, this is so cool. His wife is quoted after his passing. He is now one with God and with the Force.
Nice.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Yeah, somewhere out there, that dude is lighting up his first lightsaber, and living the dream.
Yep. Well, J.J. Abrams always seemed like he was a class act. Like he's that kind of guy.
And let's give props to the big machine too. Disney let that happen.
Well,
Oh, it was
Disney.
part of a campaign, online campaign. Like fans made that happen too.
Oh, nice. See, sometimes you gotta kind of push the buttons, but Disney is kind of weird about stuff like that. Sometimes they're really cool to people like that, and sometimes they're big dicks. And I think it's all who depends on who's in charge of the studio at the time. But
The online campaign started, got actors Mark Hamill, Peter Mayhew, and John Boyega to kind of support it. And then after his passing, Boyega tweets this: "Glad you got to see the movie. More importantly, that you slept in peace. God bless you, man. You inspire me." That is so cool.
that is very cool. Yeah.
We live in a wonderful age. I don't care.
Well,
I don't care what they say. Today is better than yesterday.
as far as J.J. Abrams go, they were doing all sorts of like charity work during the filming of Star Wars, and you had all sorts of opportunities to donate money, and then from that be able to get a walk-on part on The Force Awakens. So it's not like he's any kind of stranger to humanitarian work like that. So you kind of expect it from JJ. I would have been surprised had the opposite happened. Had somebody reached out to him to try to get a viewing of the movie before they died, and he said no. I couldn't envision him saying no like that.
Hmm.
But so did you watch this week's movie?
I watched a good portion of it, and really have the rest of the movie kind of committed to memory because I watched it all the time as a kid.
I think I've realized that this is the first time I've actually ever seen the movie.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of it. Like I'll catch it on like cable TV once in a while, or there's the scene at the end where the nerds do their rap, which is kind of famous, and I've seen it on the internet and all that a lot and spoofed a lot. But I think this is the first time I've actually sat down and watched the movie itself,
Huh.
which that was kind of cool. So have do you go on the U of A campus a lot, or have you ever been on the U of A campus?
I used to attend the U of A, so yeah, watching this movie, I was just like kind of like going, "This is so trippy." Because I forgot that they shot this there, and so for years I went to the U of A
Yeah.
and didn't think anything of it, and now I see this movie again, like going, I've been in front of that building, I've walked down that road, I've seen that path. Uh, Really weird, and even just the opening sequence where they're driving into Tucson,
Yeah.
I'm like going, I've taken that exact exit.
Yep. Yep. Right there at the what is now called Main Gate Square, right where the main entrance to the U of A is.
Yep.
Yep. Even at one point, there's a bar on campus that I didn't even realize it was there during the filming of Revenge of the Nerds, but it's a bar on campus called Dirtbags. And Snot at one point is wearing a Dirtbags t-shirt.
So cool.
It was, and I'm like, that is pretty boss. Because nowhere they never went to that bar. I don't think they went to any bar in the movie. So at no time is that movie ever seen, or is that bar ever seen in the movie. So it's just cool that somewhere along the way, either the bar gave money to the movie, or the movie probably went to the bar a lot and then just was like, let's get a T-shirt.
I'm sure somebody on the production set went by there, looked at it, and go, "That is awesome. Do you guys have a shirt?" And go, "All right, Dirtbags it is."
Yeah. Well, because they even thank Dirtbags at the end of the movie. Which I thought was kind of cool too. Again, since it never, I don't know if they filmed something there and cut it or what, but yeah, just at the fact that they thanked them and everything, that was kind of cool.
You know what? As I recall now, I do sort of remember being told that they did film that there because every day going to certain classes, I would walk by Bear Down Gym,
Right?
and if I remember correctly, they have a plaque there that says this is where they filmed scenes for Revenge of the Nerds.
They probably do, and I'm sure.
Either that or it's a part of the tour guide speech. I can also remember a tour guide walking by and going, "This is where they filmed the scene." You know, where they're all living in the gymnasium.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm sure there's some sort of placard or a picture in Dirtbags too that probably has Snot wearing that shirt. I've never been into that bar. I almost exclusively work around the campus, and I've never been in that bar.
I didn't frequent much of the bars on Fourth. I was they were that's frat central right there.
It is. Well, yeah, for the most part it is. And Dirtbags is usually where everybody ends up at the end of the night, at least in past semesters it was. And nobody seems to be going there this semester for some reason, but that's not any of my concern. But I've never actually been in there, and I've been curious about it, but
We should go one day.
yeah, we probably should.
But I watching the movie, I'm going, this is probably how people in LA feel.
When they see all the architecture that they recognize.
Yeah, and this is like the places they go all the time. Oh, we just had this discussion too when we were talking about Tire, or Rubber.
Yeah, with Mario, yeah.
Yeah, and I said there's a scene in there where they, I think it's filmed at towards the end. It's filmed at an observatory up there, and I've been at that observatory.
Yeah. Yeah, where you see the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Mario was saying that he was just filming on there like a few weeks prior. That is, yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It is very trippy to see some of those buildings in a movie in that kind of atmosphere. That,
Yeah.
you especially here in Tucson, you don't normally get that kind of I don't know, that kind of sensation. You know.
Yeah. What do you think of the movie in itself, since it was your first time seeing it?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's a typical '80s fare done in the same kind of vein as like Porky's or whatever. Um, I watching it now, uh, them using the word nerd and the way they kind of treat those kind of characters seems a little far-fetched to me. And I'm sure at the time it was, and it's done for, comedic purposes and all, but it's like there were some parts of it that were uh, just a little bit over the top. But outside of that, I mean, it's a very interesting movie. It's the typical. It's kind of a rehash of like Animal House.
It's Animal House done with nerds.
Yeah, I love the fact that the only fraternity that would consider them for membership was the black fraternity. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. I'm watching it now, and it's funny because I was watching like old Popeye cartoons that I hadn't seen before I watched that.
Right.
And these were done in 1940s during the height of during the middle of World War II.
Right.
And so it incorporated some less than flattering caricatures of Japanese people. You know, there are those old cartoons like Looney Tunes and stuff
Yeah.
that were, semi-racist or full-blown racist actually.
Right.
And then from going from and noticing that in those cartoons, and then going to watch this movie kind of, it's semi-offensive in its own way. The portrayal of the one gay character, and then the bad caricature of a Japanese person in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, you could get away with different things back in the 80s and 90s that you can't get away with now, unfortunately. And it's kind of going back to that conversation we were having about South Park. They're going through this whole PC thing, and there's that bigger message there. I mean, I want to say I don't like Generation PC, or just this whole PC nature coming up.
Right.
Then I watch this movie and I go, well, we're PC to the point where we're not we're trying not to offend everybody anymore. But there's jokes here, and it's funny, and it's not done from a place of hate. I mean, it's nice that we're kind of protecting everybody's feelings, but remember when we were able to make these kinds of jokes, and now we're actively self-censoring ourselves.
Yes.
So yeah, watching this movie just kind of reinforces how the times have changed for me, more so than any of the fashion and technology, or even just some of the look of the movie with the kind of camera shot with it. It's the subject matter and the way they do things that kind of like date this movie for me.
Yeah, definitely. And well, I mean, there's a lot of shaming going on right now too, like fat shaming and
What?
the there's a lot of shaming going on right now, especially like on the internet, like fat shaming and
Fat shaming?
yeah, fat shaming.
What do you guys got against us?
What do you mean, you guys?
What do you mean? What do you mean, you guys?
I'm just saying, that there's a lot of that, and that's a lot of in the news right now. So in some way, this is a kind of reflection on that. It shows that times haven't changed much, just the vocabulary has. That there is still it's all nerd shaming is what it is. It's because they're different. They got shamed for what happened.
Well, no, well, okay, so that's kind of different from what I was describing. Like, I'm talking about how they got away with making this film with those bad caricatures.
Right. No, but I understand what you're saying there, but in that, yeah, you don't make a caricature like that for a gay person now, or even nerds. I mean, if you look at that one sitcom,
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory. Thank you. If you look at that, the way those guys are portrayed is very different than the way these guys are portrayed. I mean, they still dress badly, and they're still not up with cultural references or like sports and stuff like that. But on the other hand, it's
there's a shred of respect, at least.
it's done with a little more reverence. We're not making fun of them for who they are. We're making light of the fact that they're kind of a fish out of water. That there's this cool girl who has to interact with these guys, and she really doesn't. She chooses to, which makes it all the more better, because she is not saying, you guys are nerds, get away from me. She's choosing to hang out with these guys because ultimately she reveres them as friends. Whereas in Revenge of the Nerds, the only way the cool girl was able to hang out with the nerds is because one of them raped her and she was okay with that because he was good in bed.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where she would not be all, oh, you're good in bed, so now you're my boyfriend. She would have been all like, yeah, we're gonna have him arrested.
Okay, so far we've identified gays, Asians, and women as being offended by this movie. That could be offended by this movie.
It could be, yeah. Well, anybody who's not a fan of rape, I guess, would be offended by this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Because yeah, it's because yeah, there is because there is a lot of like sexual things, sexual harassment-y things going on, like the nerds putting cameras in the girls' sorority house, like that kind of shit
Yeah.
wouldn't go on.
Take
They
the moment. Take the moment to actually think about what would happen in the real world if that was found out. It'd be on CNN, all over the news about how an entire fraternity is getting suspended for being stalkers.
well that and
Yes.
they would all end up on what is it, Megan's List?
Yeah.
Yeah,
None of it would be funny at all in the real
no,
world.
no. They would all be sex offenders, and they
Yeah.
would all spend time in jail, probably a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, it's kind of like a movie trapped in time there, in that. As I watch it now, I'm like going, "Wow, we really got away with a ton of stuff back in the movies. Got away with a ton of stuff back in the '80s and '90s."
Of course, like I said before, though, that I drive the sorority girls around, and they fully expect to be roofied by the fraternity guys. Like some of the fraternities, one of the girls was not telling me, she was talking to her friends, but she's like, "Yeah, it's pledge week, and the pledges have to roofie a girl and have sex with them. So just be aware of that." And I'm just like, how is that okay? You're saying that to these girls, not saying we're not going to go to this place because they have to roofie somebody, and homie, don't play that shit. They're saying, oh yeah, there's a good chance you're going to get roofied and raped. So, you know, good luck with that. I'm going to be at the bar. I mean, who does that? So it's like, even though we've progressed, we haven't progressed as much as we think we have.
Well, to draw a sharp contrast, watch old episodes of Married with Children, and then the closest thing I could find to it today is Two Broke Girls,
Okay.
with is kind of that put down humor, that sort of really like down in the gutter type humor.
Yeah. But with Married with Children, and I think somewhat with Two Broke Girls, there's an actual affection for each other in there, and that's why it works.
Well,
Because
no, what I was referring to is Married with Children got away with more. Even Two Broke Girls, as kind of blue as they are, and I like that about the show.
yeah,
As blue as they are, there's certain grounds that they can't go on that uh, Married with Children could.
yeah.
Like the amount, just like for instance, the amount of fat shaming going on in Married with Children would not fly on Two Broke Girls.
Okay, yeah, this is true. This is true.
Or
But
or the constant making fun of Marcy for possibly being gay or transgender.
which the character actually was gay. They I think made more fun of her physique than they did her sexual orientation. But you're
I
absolutely right that there
thought the
was
actress was gay and the character. Was there an
the
episode where she came out, or?
the actress was
Yeah,
gay.
yeah,
The character was not. The character just had a very thin physique, and they always referred to her as chicken legs.
yeah. I remember.
Yeah. Which funny enough that you mentioned that, one of the guys from Married with Children was in this movie.
Yeah. God, his name's part of a curse. God, what is it?
Well, it's Ted McGinley.
It's not Ted. Is Ted McGinley the guy from House, or not House Scrubs?
No, he was on Married with Children. He was
Yep.
Marcy's second wife or second husband.
Yes, it is. And have you ever heard of the Ted McGinley curse?
No.
It's referenced heavily because he guest starred in the animated Batman: The Brave and the Bold, which just is like a really wacky version of Batman.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that.
But it's a kids show, and even they reference it anytime Ted McGinley goes on to a show or a project, because he was on Happy Days for the last season.
Yeah, he was.
he kills the project. It goes into cancellation.
Yeah.
And he goes on to say, well, that's not exactly true. I spent 6 years unmarried with children.
But it was the last 6 years.
Yeah, I mean he's arguing like in character, like they bring him in there and actually you know, this is kind of a funny episode of Batman Relatable. They actually reference the fact, hey, we're changing Aquaman's voice from John DiMaggio, who voices Bender.
Yeah.
And who are you replacing with? Ted McGinley. And one of the characters called Ambush Bug just goes, oh great, we're getting canceled.
Nice.
Like the Ted McGinley curse, it's coming. We're all getting canceled, and then at the end of the episode, it forces McGinley to kind of like defend himself. Hey, Married with Children was still on the air for like 6 years after I was there.
Yeah, that was probably his most successful show too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's probably his most successful anything, really.
Yeah.
I'm looking through his actual filmography right now.
He was on Sports Night. Yeah, the last season of Sports Night. He was on the last season of West Wing.
Like I'm looking for like the quality stuff, and it says he was on one episode of Mad Men.
He was on the last season of Justice League.
He was a regular on Hope and Faith for 55 episodes.
That's probably the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. And Castle.
Well, Castle is coming to an end.
He was on one episode.
Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Yeah, he played Aquaman too.
No, himself as Aquaman.
Himself as Aquaman. Okay.
Like he says, okay, so we're bringing Ted McGinley in to voice Aquaman, and then halfway through the show, his voice just changes.
Yeah, he was on Mad Men in the last season. I haven't seen all the last season of Mad Men yet.
I haven't seen anything of Mad Men ever. I'm sorry, it seems boring as hell. It's like Catch Me If You Can, but with nothing else.
It's kind of, I want to say it's on par with like Breaking Bad or Sons of Anarchy, but those had more action in it. Because there was always something going on because they were bad guys and there was always a shootout or an explosion or whatever. So Mad Men is kind of like Breaking Bad without the meth, without the criminal, and without the explosions.
Yeah,
the occasional gunfire.
Without the shtick, basically. Because it seems like it's just a show about a guy in the 50s.
It's a show about a guy in the 50s who, it's like right on the cusp of the sexual revolution, and he's the old school lecher, and what would now be a dirty old man in his prime.
Yeah.
And he is kind of completely out of control, and it's more the fall of this guy, this character, that he is somewhat on the top of the world. He's at a very prestigious ad company, marketing company, and he just kind of falls from grace in every way possible except on the job. And I'm not even sure if that's a thing because I didn't see all of the last season. So it's just, and it takes place throughout all of, I think, the 1950s. It takes place, and then like right before it's all 1960s, like 1963 to 1969, and like each episode is a month in whatever year that they're in. So like they do 12 episodes, 12 months. So the final episode would be December of 1969. So like right before it goes into 1970, they end the show, which I kind of figured they were going to from the start. That he is the kind of character that would not survive in the next decade.
So he does survive till the end?
He survives to the end. I don't know if he actually survives the series or if he dies in it. Because if you've seen Breaking Bad, right?
I saw the entire first season, and then when everybody became so big on it and it became the trendy thing, I stopped watching.
It's a good show. I'm not sure I totally agree with the ending. I think the end of it was just a little too good for Walter White and his character, but that's just me. But
Didn't he die like really like a punk? He just got shrapnel in him and he laid down to die somewhere.
kind of yes, kind of no. He went in to save his friend from neo-Nazis, and in doing so, he took a round from his own weapon that he set up outside, and he ended up slowly bleeding out, and he had enough time to walk to the meth lab and die in the meth lab, because ultimately he was a man of science, so he wanted to die with his science equipment. But to me, they say that he lived on his own terms and he died on his own terms, and considering that what he did, that he was a maker of meth, that his death was a little too good for him. That it should have been, the cop should have rushed in and shot him down. I think should have been the ending of that show. That with everything that happened and his several chances to get out that he never took, he should not have died on his own terms.
Hmm.
Other than that, I love the series. Other than like the last 10 minutes of it, I thought it was a great series. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shows that end like that. I don't know if they did that with Mad Men. I don't know if they killed him off or not. I kind of hope they didn't, because I've seen so many shows where the lead character dies at the end, just kind of gives up and dies. But with Walter White, he started out with cancer, so you kind of knew that he would not survive to the end of the series. I mean, technically he didn't, but
Yeah, it seems like all the really good series, the lead dies at the end, or at least implied to die.
yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I
Yeah.
kind of hope that Don Draper survives the end of Mad Men.
Well, I just read the ending because I have no plans of seeing it. I just read like how it ends, and it's.
Well,
I won't spoil it for you.
yeah, thank you. I will eventually watch the rest of it. I think I have like half of the last season to go, but I'll probably watch the whole last season anyway. I just haven't had the time to do it.
And Tony Soprano supposedly died at the end of Sopranos.
I haven't seen that show either. That's on Amazon. I don't have a subscription to Amazon Prime right now. I need to get that, but he that show just went black in the middle of the episode, basically, is what
Yeah,
people say.
yeah, it's supposed to imply that while he was sitting there, Hitman took him out, and that's why it just went black.
Oh, I see. Well, that kind of makes sense, considering his lifestyle. But I mean, the same thing happened with Sons of Anarchy. The lead character dies, and again he does it on his own terms, which, yeah, it was a little cliche, and you really see it coming a mile away. You see it coming half the season away. And if you're really kind of astute, you see it coming way before the half season mark. But they lay it on kind of thick how his death is going to transpire.
Again, it's another show that I thought I really loved the first season, and then everybody else started loving it, so I stopped watching.
Supposedly they're going to do a prequel to it where it's the main character's dad starting up the motorcycle club that he was a part of. But I don't know if they're ever going to do that, because the guy who did that series is doing another one right now, something about Vikings. I forget what it's called, like You Terrible Bastards or something. Kurt Sutter is his name, who is the husband of the chick from Married with Children, Katie Siegel,
Huh,
which is why she was on Sons of Anarchy.
okay. Katie Seagal is a great actress.
Oh my God, her character on this show is so good, and she does it so well. It is the almost exact polar opposite of Peggy Bundy, while still being a mother of children. So it's kind of weird. Oh, the Bastard Executioner. That's the series he's doing now.
You know what would be funny? If the end of every major show, they just brought in a brief cameo from Ted McGinley. Like,
He should be literally the assassin that kills off the main character.
yeah, like he's the guy that shoots Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading up on the last episode of Sons of Anarchy. Do you plan on watching that?
Oh, I've seen it.
Okay, so he's the truck driver that hits the lead character.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
He should have been. They actually the truck driver is the guy who was the commissioner on the TV show The Commissioner, who also was the Thing in the Fantastic Four movie.
You mean Michael Chiklis?
Yeah, he was the truck driver who killed the main character for Sons of Anarchy.
You know why that's kind of awesome? Because Sons of Anarchy is in itself is a show done completely by the people that did The Shield.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They had like other people from The Shield on the show, and then like Chicklet was all like, "How come I'm not on the show?"
Yeah, if you saw does Chiklis show up like you see him beforehand?
You do. He's in like the last 3 episodes, I think. So like he ends up picking up Katie Siegel's character because she's hitchhiking because she's trying to get to her dad's place.
Yeah.
So he picks her up, and you think they're gonna have like a sexual affair, like, you know, kind of, she's at this very low point, so she's just kind of like gonna fuck her way across the country to get to her dad's place, but that never happens. He actually turns out to be kind of a good guy. So it's actually more terrible for him that he kills Jax than it is that Jax dies.
Huh.
Jax being the name of the lead character, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm sure you caught that, yeah.
Still, I would have preferred Ted McGinley.
That would have been good, yeah.
Like you just bring him in on every last episode of every show ever made.
Ted McGinley should have been the cop who shoots Walter White. Yeah.
Ted McGinley should have been in the diner for the last episode of The Sapranos.
Yeah.
Ted McGinley should have been should play the role of the dog in the last scene of Lost.
That would have been good.
Ted McGinley should have been the judge that throws Seinfeld and his friends in the slammer.
Yeah, he should be the guy who buys out the firm that the Mad Men work for and fires them all.
Yeah. Ted McGinley. Well, it's not really the end of the series, but Ted McGinley should probably been the Borg.
He should have been the Borg King at the end of Voyager.
Oh yeah, or at the end of what was it, season 4 of TNG, like the iconic, like they left it on a cliffhanger.
Oh, the where Picard becomes captured by the Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He should have been back out.
Well, he could have been Q for the end of Next Generation.
Yeah, this is true.
Because Q comes back to put them all on trial again.
Yeah, Ted McGinley, for no apparent reason, just kind of shows up in episode 13 of Serenity. That's a good sign. That's a good sign right there.
Whenever they want to get rid of Doctor Who, he should pop in to be the last Doctor.
Yeah, Ted McGinley is the last Doctor Who. That's the title of this episode, by the way. Ted McGinley is Doctor Who.
The last Doctor Who, yes.
I love Ted McGinley. I do. just because the fact that he's cool with that, by the way, like he's able to make fun of it.
Well, for the longest time, Nathan Fillion had kind of the same thing going on, except he couldn't get a series started.
Yeah.
Like Serenity, he only went like a season. He was in a really good show called Drive, which is basically about people. It was like a Cannonball Run, people driving across country in an illegal underground race, and it was really good, but nobody knew it existed. And they made 6 episodes, but they only ever televised 4 of them.
Well, what's funny about that is that Nathan Fillion, who everybody sort of sees as even before he got castle.
Yeah.
Everybody sort of thought, hey, there's something there. This guy can get work. Would probably be really good in something. We just got to find the thing for him.
Yeah.
And they never find the right thing for him. But guys like Taylor Kish, you know who that is?
No, who is that?
John Carter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That guy gets one franchise after another to kill, and they cast him in the successor to one of the best TV shows in the last 20 years, or probably ever, in True Detective. He
Oh,
was
that's.
in the second season of that.
I haven't seen that yet. Have you?
The second season?
Yeah.
I have no interest in it because the bar is so far up for the first season.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, when I heard they were coming back with a second season, I was upset. Like, why would you do that to yourselves? It was better when this title was associated with those 10 episodes, and it's I'm sure it's a fine and decent show, and I like Colin Farrell and Vince Vaughn and Rachel McAdams, and I don't hate Taylor Kish, but I just why make that? You should have left it. It was special when it was just the one thing.
Well, I knew they were planning on doing it as a series and doing it kind of like how American Horror Story is done, where they change out the cast and it's basically a different story every season. So I knew they were going to do that it's going to be a detective story, but it was going to be different cast and a different story each season. So I was expecting and kind of anticipating it, but I haven't heard anything about it. And like I heard all sorts of people raving about the first True Detective, and when I saw the first episode, I was blown away. The fact that Woody Harrelson got a really good role was amazing to me. And Matthew McConaughey, to me, is hit and miss, but he was on his game so much in that series that he blew me away too. So
I want to sit here and go. They were both robbed because they were both nominated for Best Actor in a miniseries.
uh-huh.
In a series, a main actor in a series.
Yeah.
I want to sit here and say they both got robbed, but then you think of the guy who did win and the show he was in, Cranston for Breaking Bad, and you go, well.
Yeah, I mean, Cranston was amazing. He did an amazing job in that show, and
yeah, like
I don't.
If it had happened like 5 years earlier or just 2 years after, because Cranston left that year,
Yeah.
I would have been pissed off if anybody else had won it, but Cranston won it. I'm like, okay, I can live with that. That's fine.
But it's an old horse racing adage that if the favorite is split, you go with the long shot. And two guys off of the same series getting nominated for best lead actor, neither one's probably going to win. Yeah,
honestly, I think they shot them. Had they not decided that this was a show instead of a miniseries, because they could have both won for like lead and supporting for a miniseries.
Yeah, they could have, but I mean, it would have been nice to see like a tie and they both win for best lead. But it's hard to, in a situation like that, especially when they're both nominated, to decide who's better in that series. So a lot of times people will be all like, well, I can't decide with those two, so I'll go with somebody else. So you get kind of that, and Bryan Cranston by no means is a dark horse or a long shot, but you get those people who probably wouldn't get the award otherwise coming in to get it because you can't decide on who's better in that one show. And you're right. If it wasn't for Cranston, it might have been somebody else other than those two guys, unfortunately.
If somebody other than Cranston had won that award, I would have been, other than those three guys.
Yeah.
I would have been pissed. The fact that Cranston won it over the other two, I don't have a great problem with. McConaughey was just so good in that.
He was.
That was his year, man. Like with the Oscar and that.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy has turned his career. Like, this is the guy from what was the movie? Failure to Launch.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Oh no, he does this though. He will do like these powerful movies, like that one where he was the lawyer and with Samuel L. Jackson.
Lincoln Lawyer.
No, not Lincoln Lawyer. A Time to Kill.
Time to Kill. Okay.
He did A Time to Kill, which is one of his first films, which really kind of raised him to the level of celebrity status that he is in. and it was a very powerful movie, and it was a drama, and he acted the hell out of that movie. And then he does something, like Failure to Launch or something else that's equally as sappy, some sort of romantic comedy, and those don't go over as well. Or he'll do like a buddy comedy in Sahara, and that doesn't go over as well. I thought Sahara was pretty decent. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was horrible either. I thought it was a decent film. And then you start thinking, oh, this guy's crap, and then he comes back and he does Killer Joe, or he does Dallas Buyers Club, or he does this, and you're like, oh, that's right, he used to be a really good actor.
I haven't seen the movie, and I have absolutely no intention of seeing it. But apparently, he goes into Magic Mike, which I guess everybody knows what it is from looking at it or
Yeah.
just hearing about it. It's Channing Tatum trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
And apparently, he goes in there and nails, and actually in that kind of a movie, offers up a what I'm told is a very compelling, noteworthy or maybe even nomination-worthy performance.
That movie, a lot of it was done ad-libbed, especially the dialogue between Chatham Tanning and whatever female lead love interest he has in that movie. A lot of it was improv, and it felt improv.
Yeah.
So when Matthew McConaughey comes on, either his stuff wasn't improv or he's really good at it, that he makes it feel like really natural but like really good. So it's like night and day difference between the stuff that Chatham is in versus what McConaughey's in.
I think here I do believe everything that he does in that, or a lot of what he does in that movie, is improv. Here's the thing: I think he's a really deep thinker, and he's a lot smarter than we give him credit for. We make fun of him for his speeches and his naked playing of the bongos,
Mm-hmm.
but the guy, he's a smart guy.
He is.
And he's an incredibly talented actor and artist, and I'm pretty sure he brought that to that set, knowing full well what kind of movie this is. And let's not forget who directed that movie. That was Steven Soderbergh.
Oh, Soderbergh, yeah.
And so he looks at it and goes, yeah, Soderbergh's directing a Channing Tatum thing where it makes Channing Tatum a star and he gets to make money.
Yeah.
But it's still Steven Soderbergh. He knows quality. So I'm going to bring quality.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. And then he does something like a Lincoln commercial.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the hell is this guy smoking? But whatever he's smoking makes him a good actor.
You know what I think it is? He started off as just a really good dramatic actor in a bunch of stuff like Dazed and Confused and A Time to Kill.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He wasn't Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, he starts doing a bunch of, and then the ladies take a notice of how he looks.
Yeah.
And he gets voted Sexiest Man Alive, and he starts doing all these rom-coms because you know what? I'm going to be the biggest star in the world. And
Yeah.
but those movies start flopping, and he says, you know what? I'm going back to who I am. And he starts becoming, and then he's the good actor again. That's actually how I think his career trajectory has gone.
Kind of. I mean, it sounds like he tried to do something different and didn't work, and he went back to what he's good at, which, ironically, what he's good at is what a lot of people find very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So, maybe he got bored with being dramatic actor.
He's the reverse Channing Tatum.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, oh, that's right, he was in Interstellar, and he's actually really good in Interstellar.
I think he's just really good at anything he is nowadays.
I haven't seen. He pops in for like one scene in Wolf of Wall Street, and it is the most bizarre cameo, but it is.
It is the one everybody saw that movie on.
Yeah.
It's in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I mean, it's a very. It kind of dictates what the philosophy of the film is, and it's these two powerhouses in whatever world these two live in. He kind of sets everything in motion. They're just sitting down talking at lunch. So it's very cool in that manner, but it's so bizarre that they get him to come in for one scene in this movie. And it is literally that. He's not in the movie anywhere else.
Well, when Marty Scorsese gives you a call and says, hey, be on set at this time, you go on set at that time.
Oh, no, I don't blame him for doing it. And, you know, he probably either got a really big payday for that one day or he did it as a favor.
I'm sure he's banking on goodwill from Scorsese for later films. I like McConaughey. I do. I find that he's went the Brad Pitt route with me. I don't like him at first because they're billed as the pretty boys.
Yeah.
And then they turn out to be really good actors.
That's right, Matthew McConaughey, one of his first films. Oh, it was after Dazed and Confused. He was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
Sometimes isn't fair. He looks like that, and he's a better actor than everybody else.
Oh, Renee Zellweger was in that movie too.
Again, just not fair at all.
Well, I will give you that Matthew McConaughey works to look the way he does. And even at his age, how old is he? He was born in 69.
He's 46.
So he's a little bit older than me. And even at his age, he looks pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie. He could use a little touch up around the neck area. He's getting that weird little turkey neck thing that old people get, that I'll probably get in the next couple of years. I need to become a famous director so I can make some money, so I can get rid of my turkey neck when I get it.
There you go, folks. That's why you want to tune into this show and to our web series on YouTube, because join the movement to fix Alex's turkey neck
I don't want a turkey neck.
and get me lipo.
I already have a problem with a little bit of fat around. I have a weak chin to begin with. This is why I do go with the beard. I don't need a turkey neck on top of that, because that will really just make me look like I have no chin whatsoever. I'll be all like tuna neck there. And no offense to anybody who has a tuna neck. And believe me, you know who you are.
I try to offend anybody out here, folks. But again, I didn't like the idea that they turned that into a series instead of leaving it as a mini. Because I think it started out as a mini. Or if not, they didn't really acknowledge at the beginning, hey, we're going to come back with the second season of this.
The idea was to do it as a series, but the way they did it is if they never got picked up for a second season, it would have been fine. Because you have this awesome, this guy gave it his all to make that series and that season. And had they never picked it up for some reason, if they would have said, you know what, we don't want to do a second season, we don't like the script, or we don't like the people you chose, or we just don't have the time or the money to invest in it, he would have been fine with doing that as just a miniseries and a single thing. But I think it had always been slated as doing it as a series, and I think that he didn't concern himself with what season 2 was going to be until after he was done with season 1. So, which may be a detriment to season 2. Who knows? I wonder if this is on Netflix or anything yet.
What?
The second season of True Detective.
I doubt it. I'm sure it's on HBO Go, and they don't let any of their stuff go.
I think the first season made it to Netflix or to Amazon, something like that. I think a lot of HBO stuff goes to Amazon. I think that's what it is. So speaking of cast members, what'd you think of that cast for Revenge of the Nerds? A very young, very thin John Goodman.
Yeah.
That took me by a little bit of surprise.
I'm just kind of, I don't know. None of them ever really kind of got past this.
James Cromwell?
Except, well, no, he was established before that. This did not launch any careers.
No, it didn't. Well, Anthony Edwards, maybe. Did he do something before this?
I don't know. Well, what's he done lately though?
He was on ER for a long time, and then I don't know if he's done anything after that.
I mean, I like Booger, but there's a character actor if I've ever seen one.
Oh yeah, he's on some sort of game show, King of the Nerds, I think it is.
Well, no, him and Carradine.
Yeah.
They're both like the hosts of it, and they're banking on the nostalgia of this for that show.
Yes, that they definitely are.
I mean, again, I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I mean, all that stuff I said earlier about it being trapped in time.
Yeah.
That I didn't say it disparagingly. I like it.
Yeah. No, it's very much a sign of the times that it was created in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just it's. I can see why it was as big a deal as it was back then.
Yeah.
And they even tried remaking this movie, by the way.
Well, they did several sequels of it.
They did several sequels, but they tried to do a full-blown remake, and
did they?
The cast included, names like Adrian Brody or Adam Brody or, God, I can't remember. I'd have to look it up, but still, they got actually 2 weeks into filming and pulled the plug on it.
Was it that bad?
Yep.
Wow.
Apparently, it was that bad.
Timothy Busfield, who played Poindexter, has gone on to do other things. His career didn't blow up by any stretch of the imagination, but he got on to 30-something, which was very popular back in the 80s. He was in Field of Dreams. The last thing that I saw him on was Sleepy Hollow, where he played Benjamin Franklin, which he actually did a pretty good Benjamin Franklin, I have to admit. What I find disturbing is, as I'm watching the movie, and Poindexter is the guy who's kind of blind, but he's always wearing a suit. I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, I have a suit that looks exactly like that. And then one of the other nerds is wearing a shirt, and I'm like, oh shit, I have a shirt exactly like that. So apparently I feel for the nerds.
That's a good thing.
Well, it was a true underdog story. A feel-good summer hit.
And I think it spawned like a bunch of people that tried to do the same thing. It made frat comedies big again for a little bit.
For a little bit.
But they all sort of follow the same basic premise as Animal House.
Yeah.
There's an obligatory party scene at a pool somewhere.
It kind of went into Charlie Brown territory with the competition, the fraternity competition.
Yeah.
Towards the end, it reminded me of that boat race that Charlie Brown did in whatever camping summer camp episode they did.
Yeah, that's another very strong trope of this genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, the competition stuff. Isn't that like a trope of every college movie? Like even Van Helsing? Not Van Helsing.
Van Wilder.
Van Wilder.
Did they have something like that?
Yeah, he has like some mission. There's always some mission that they need to get into before the end of the end of the year or something like that.
I don't know. The Animal House, there was a parade at the end that after they got kicked out of school, they decided to completely fuck with and destroy.
This high school fraternity or college fraternity comedies and summer camp comedies are like the most pigeonholed and like tightly packed. Like you can't deviate from this plot or trope thing in all of film, I think.
Kind of. Kind of makes me want to combine the summer camp comedy with the summer camp slasher horror film, and just have the people dying off, but yet still trying to do the talent show at the end of the year, and like make it a running gag that like one person in a particular part keeps getting killed off, so they have to keep getting somebody to be in that part.
That's a National Lampoon's thing waiting to happen.
Kind of it is.
That is a direct-to-DVD National Lampoon's thing waiting to happen. Because unfortunately that's all National Lampoon's does nowadays. But
Yeah.
I still enjoy their stuff. Anthony Edwards, Curtis Armstrong, Brian Tochi. The only person here that really kind of goes somewhere afterwards is John Goodman. And John Goodman's just good at everything he's in.
Again, like I said, a very thin, very young John Goodman. I barely recognized him until he started talking.
Yeah.
And then, he goes on to do, Roseanne and then like a bunch of other stuff.
He's like it just shows how good he is. Because it's not like this movie kind of like launches careers or anything. That franchise is not.
Yeah.
The movie came out in 1984, and he didn't get his big break until Roseanne, and that was in.
That was another 100 pounds later.
Yeah, another 100 pounds later. Oh, they just did a Family Guy where part of the plot is that they get people to play them in a movie later. John Goodman as Peter Griffin.
Okay.
Dwayne Johnson as Joe.
Okay.
What I believe is Martin Lawrence as Cleveland.
Oh, really? Cleveland.
Yeah. At least that's Martin Lawrence. It's just a character of a black guy with a gap in his front teeth. So it's either him or maybe even Eddie Murphy.
Mm.
And then Charlie Sheen as Quagmire. I knew you'd like that one.
That one was good. They don't have anybody playing the wives.
Well, no, it was just for that particular scene. They were all having like a 4-way Mexican standoff.
Yeah.
So it was just that quick shot of them before shooting each other.
So does that mean that Cleveland's back on the Family Guy?
Yeah.
Did his show not go good?
First 2 episodes or first like half season when he did return.
Yeah.
Because he never stopped reminding him about how he had a show that failed. Like that bear character was so bad, Seth MacFarlane stopped voicing him like 6 episodes in.
Wow. I didn't realize he came back. I might have to actually catch up on that. Was that this last season that he came back, or was it a couple seasons ago?
I think it was last season actually.
Oh, okay.
Not this season, but the season before.
Right.
Which, yeah, Seth MacFarlane likes his friends and he keeps them busy.
Oh yeah.
I like Seth MacFarlane, by the way.
Yeah. Some of the stuff he does is pretty good. Which, again, the guy who plays Booger is in American Dad. He plays Snot. He does the voice of Snot.
Well, no, I like him for the stuff he does, but also kind of like him because for some of the statements he makes politically.
Yeah, no, I'm just pointing out a correlation between today's movie and Family Guy, or Seth MacFarlane, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, they named the character Snot after the character of Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, since they got the same actor to play it.
Never occurred to me until just right now.
Really?
Yeah. For all that time, I knew it was him.
Yeah.
I knew it was that guy voicing him. Maybe it's because I forgot his name was Booger in the movie. I don't.
Maybe. Yeah. But oh yeah, MacFarlane does do some good political stuff, and I don't like Family Guy as much as I do like American Dad. I think American Dad is the better series. I think I don't know if the characters are better, but I just think overall it's a better show and better writing. I don't always like the way they do the non sequitur jokes, but I mean, Family Guy does have a lot of really good moments to it. I'm not gonna lie.
I enjoy American Dad in the way that I enjoy. It has more in common with The Simpsons than Family Guy has in common with The Simpsons.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of non sequiturs, and from week to week the characters sort of, because Homer's never the same person 2 weeks in a row. I
True.
mean, he's the same guy and he's always doing that, but he's either blatantly comic relief, or he's the idiot, or he's whatever for that week.
Yeah.
And you get that from American Dad. Family Guy, they're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
They do so many non sequiturs they can probably do that.
Yeah. Well, I just find it fun that they have Patrick Stewart doing a voice of the CIA boss, who's just as bad as everybody else on that show.
You know who else Patrick Stewart voices in the McFarlane's little universe?
Who?
He's the inner monologue of Joe's baby daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the first time somebody, I thought it was hilarious the first time he actually did the voice, because they set the joke up like we're going to hear what he has, the baby has in its head, and you think he's a girl, and then all of a sudden it's Patrick Stewart again.
Well, that's cool. Well, he's a McFarlane's a big Star Trek fan. I mean, he pretty much mentioned that the first episode of Family Guy, and has really never looked back from that. So, yeah, they did a whole episode where they had the entire Next Generation cast, where they were the characters playing themselves, and they had to spend the day with Stewie.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of Patrick Stewart, he has a new show coming out, I believe, on Showtime or Cinemax.
He plays some sort of news anchor or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it looks hilarious.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I'm looking it up right now. Blunt Talk.
That's right. Yes.
And well, it's already going to get another season.
Has it debuted already?
The series' first 2 episodes were released online August 15th, premiered on Stars on the 22nd, and at the beginning they already had ordered 20 episodes. They were just going to split them into 2 seasons.
Right.
And let me look. The ratings aren't great, but
yeah, but it's cable. They're never going to be as high as like the major networks.
Yeah. And it's getting mixed reviews. It's a 53 on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Well, it's slightly above average, so you can't really beat that.
Yeah.
But it's Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart, and he's kind of like Joe Pesci in the fact that he can say stuff, and even if it's not funny, the fact that it comes out of him makes it funny.
Yeah. The trailer sold me on it. Just like when his manservant was punishing him for being an idiot.
Yeah.
You are unclean. That was funny. Patrick Stewart's up there in the years too.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's funny because somebody pointed out to me not too long ago that they digitally altered Patrick Stewart's face for X-Men 3.
Yeah.
To make him look 20 years younger.
Yeah.
Even though we have footage of him 20 years ago on Star Trek: The Next Generation, and he looks exactly the same.
Yep. In fact, he doesn't. The X-Men 3 thing that he was in just looked really weird.
It did.
That's a younger Patrick Stewart. No. I've seen a younger Patrick Stewart. That doesn't look anything like him.
It looked like a rubber Patrick Stewart.
It did, didn't it?
Like some sort of bad robot version of Patrick Stewart.
It looks like you know those Nixon masks?
Yeah.
It looks like Patrick Stewart had one of those. Well, no, it looks like a bald Nixon mask.
Oh my God.
Lee. American Dad, Family Guy, and Blunt Talk. Alright.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
What, the Blunt Talk?
Yeah.
So will I. It's because I love him and it looks funny. Still looks good for a guy his age, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Have you seen Dick Van Dyke?
He looks really old.
No, no, he doesn't. Not for a guy his age.
But he was on that. He was on a TV show 10 years ago,
Yeah,
where he was looking kind of old.
I was telling you. Give me guess how old he is.
Let's see. He was big back in the 50s, and he must have been about 30 then. So he's gonna be like 90 now, isn't he?
He's 89.
89. There you go.
Guy looks amazing for his age. And the fact that he's up and walking and actually kind of able to talk, that is impressive. I don't know if you noticed, but you know, some guys are 20 years younger and they don't look so good.
No, they do not. No, I notice that a lot. I get people in my cab all the time who are my age, and they look horrible.
Well, have you seen Al Pacino lately?
No, I have not.
Man does not look well.
Well, he's getting up there in age too, isn't he?
Like I don't think he's, well, if he's past 70, it's not by a whole lot. I've got nothing on my websites for more nerd news, by the way.
Yeah, it's been kind of a slow week for nerdism.
Like, I'm waiting for some trailers to be coming out. Like, I want to see the new, because the movie's being released next year. I'm sure they have a new Godzilla trailer coming out at any time now.
Al Pacino was born in 1940, so that would make him 75-ish.
And Van Dyke looks a lot better than he does.
Diagnosis Murder, that was the show he was on not too long ago.
Yeah, that's not 10 years ago. That's 20 years ago. I remember that.
Oh my God, that was 93, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see, Dick Van Dyke was born in 1925.
Yeah.
Whew.
Looks great for his age, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
The guy actually served in World War II. That's how old he is.
He's got a little bit of that turkey neck going on, but aside of that, he at least got a full head of hair.
Full head of hair. I'm impressed by the fact that he's able to talk so well. You know who's still around from back in those days? Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, he had a stroke though, didn't he?
Yeah. Still up and able to get around though a little bit.
He last I saw, he was in a wheelchair and he was talking a little funny.
He does talk a little funny.
Yeah.
He was able to get up and walk around for a little bit. I know this because he did an episode of Bill Maher. But yeah, the Golden Age people, a couple of them still holding on. I mean, the Golden Age of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, if you were a white male, great.
Anyway. So I texted Mario and I got his movie pick for the week.
Who's his movie pick for the week?
He's going with Hamlet 2, which technically was not shot in Tucson, but it takes place in Tucson. So let's see how.
Is he aware that it wasn't shot in Tucson?
Yeah, because we discussed it a couple weeks ago, but
does he remember that discussion? Is what I'm asking.
Probably not.
Yeah, he thinks it's shot in Tucson. That's why he wants to watch it.
But it'll be fun to see how the rest of the world views Tucson.
Yeah, all right, I'm down.
Because they do make fun of it, and they do say that it's kind of a shithole from what Mario has been saying. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the world views us, or views this little city of ours.
And I just found the best pair of headphones like ever. I'm gonna send you the link to them.
Okay. I need a new pair of headphones. What makes them the best pair ever?
Click on the link.
I'm doing it. Okay, I'll give you that.
They're
Those are
they're
some pretty nice headphones.
they're LED neon light cat ears headphones.
Are the cat ears also speakers?
I don't know. I think they're just there for show.
Okay, because
No,
they got
external speakers.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Ah,
Okay, how much are these headphones?
I'm sure they cost an arm and a leg. But looking at that, how far off is a set of Batman Bat Ears versions of those, huh? Huh?
Not very far off at all. And Brookstone cat ear headphones. Yeah, I will be asking for these for Christmas. I'm sure they're going to be very, very expensive, but they're either going to be really good headphones or they're going to be really bad headphones that are just really expensive.
Okay, so I read this. It's an older headline. Battle Angel Alita, which is I guess an old manga, is set to become a Hollywood movie, and it's the director and producer that kind of caught my attention. James Cameron producing, with Robert Rodriguez directing. Those are two names I do not immediately associate with one another.
And what's the name of the manga?
Battle Angel Alita, Alita, or Arita. But it's the Rodriguez Cameron combo that kind of trips me out.
That is a very interesting combination, especially with Rodriguez directing.
Yeah, because I don't know that he seems like a cool guy, Rodriguez, and that he would have a very not a casual but a more approachable way of directing film sets. Cameron is the exact opposite. He's a dick. He's a dick, and he yells at people on set, and he belittles them and dehumanizes them. So to see those two kind of like getting together to work together, I have a hard time seeing how that movie is going to get made.
Well, it looks like I'm reading up on this a little bit. Cameron's a big fan of the manga, and he was waiting for the CGI technology to advance so he can make a live action version of it. Which, but he wants to do the other Avatar sequels before doing anything. So that's probably why he's producing, so he can pass it off to somebody else to have it done.
When I
So
hear that, I think of how hypocritical James Cameron is, because he says he's a huge fan of that, but apparently comic book movies are stupid.
well, obviously Cameron did not see the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's comic books are books, just like anything else. They just have pictures in them.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, again, I have a hard time seeing that movie ever seeing the light of day.
Yeah, I could see Robert Rodriguez walking off on that. Like, it's going to go through 3 or 4 different directors before they find one that either sticks or he abandons the project.
I tend to think he just abandons the project altogether.
Or Cameron just may be all like, I want to do Avatar, somebody else take care of this, and then not care what happens. As long as you don't go over budget.
Cameron keeps talking about Avatar. 2015 was when the sequel was supposed to be out. Still nothing. It's been put back to 2017. I still don't think it's going to be out by then either. I think he takes his sweet ass time and then delivers something that underwhelms.
Yeah, you never know. He might be waiting around because he's a perfectionist and he's waiting for the exact right thing, which may or may never come.
I'm sorry. There's no reason. It's all right that he's a perfectionist. There's better ways of going about it than he has. That's my big problem with him. It's just I know that he's such a terrible person behind the camera, away. Well, even behind the camera.
Yeah. Well, is he? I have the feeling he's going to probably do sequels back to back. He's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
do 2 and
talk
3.
about it.
Yeah, which is hit and miss. Like a lot of people complained about, Back to the Future 2. They didn't think it was all that great. I thought it was a good movie. But they did 2 and 3 back to back. They did 2 and 3 Matrix back to back, and those were kind of crappy. So, but they did all of the Lord of the Rings movies together, and those turned out really good. So
Yeah.
it's hard to tell.
Well,
I'm kind of starting to agree with you, thinking that he will probably deliver something that is not nearly as good as the original.
well, the Lord of the Rings has the benefit of coming from good source material, so there's confines to what you can do, and a good director will take what's there and know not to mess with it too much and not ruin it.
Yeah.
As this is all from Cameron, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm reading up on like the Avatar and just in trying to figure out when the next sequel was supposed to be 2017. I still don't see it happening.
Right.
As I do that, I read the word unobtainium and just for a good second, I'm thinking that movie's a lot dumber than we give it the criticism.
Um, I think in part the reason why it's called that is because it doesn't matter what it is. It's a means to an ends. So they just gave it a wacky name, and I think he kind of did that on purpose because there's no reason why that material would be given that name for that movie.
Take it out of the context of the fact that this movie is by all means groundbreaking, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous film,
Yeah.
and new ways of shooting film that did not previously exist. He should be commended for his. These are his inventions, by the way. This is
Yeah.
how that movie looks is all him.
Yeah, oh, no, I get that. And even the 3D that was done to it was beautiful. It's like a lot of 3D is just, stuff coming at the screen, or it's kind of wasted because directors don't really know how to use it. But he did it in such amazing ways that it made you feel like you were inside the movie sometimes.
No, no, the actual technology behind this film is amazing. Still hasn't been matched, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The problem is, if you took away all of that, you would see like I think the gaping plot hole or just dumbness and laziness of the movie. It's a movie about giant cat people, which is basically Pocahontas told over again,
Yeah.
with with vague references to the internet and the singularity event, but has words like unobtainium in it. And we're supposed to, by the way, we're supposed to believe that, no matter how large, fast, or capable, or even numerous the natives are, that somehow they were able to survive the onslaught of bullets. And another thing, it's a it's a dumbed down version of Native American or Manifest Destiny.
Okay.
I just there's so much in this movie that this movie deserves its praise for the way it was actually made, not for what's actually the content in there.
So the technical part of the movie, not the artistic part of the movie.
Yeah, because there isn't a whole lot of artistic to it.
Well, yeah, the South Park made fun of it, saying that it was basically the Smurfs.
It's a done movie made really well.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of testament to, you know, how some directors are. It's you can either, get discouraged because you have a bad script, so you make, a movie and blame the script and say, I did the best with what I have, or you can go over the top with it and make it a visual event where you kind of forget how kind of plain the plot is. I mean, the same can be said for Star Wars too. If you really look at the first Star Wars movie, there's a lot of cliches, there's a lot of tropes in it. It's the story kind of Spartacus maybe, where it's a poor farm boy who rises up and becomes a warrior and topples a tyrannical regime. I mean, this is not a new story by any stretch of the imagination. It's just so happens to be done in space. And if you look at the prequels, they're a slave boy. I guess that's more Spartacus, a slave boy who rises up, who becomes, the right hand of the emperor.
Yeah.
So it's like the plot points, the bullet points of the Star Wars movies are kind of cliche. They're ripped off of much older films, but yet, because of the way it's done, and because of what he did with that material, it's a spectacular event.
And I get it. Every story has beginning, middle, end, and every action or even a lot of dramatic stuff, thriller, whatever, has a hero, and logically, hero starts, hero's troubled, hero meets confrontation, hero wins.
Mm-hmm.
But if I may draw a contrast to another very successful film, look at the Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. Those are big movies that could have been dumb, but aren't dumb, because just like the way they're acted and the dialogue and the actual themes behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he really approached those movies like he was making The Godfather.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we get that from Avatar, though.
Avatar is almost to the point of being kind of a mindless action film. It's just a huge budget mindless action film.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Thank you. You nailed it right on the head. One of them was making Godfather. The other one was In fact, I'll take it a step further. Avatar is a video game.
Yeah.
It's eye porn.
Oh yeah, definitely that.
I mean, it's all the cutscenes from your video games. That's it.
Kind of it is.
Like, is anybody really invested in a love story in that thing? Nope. People have already forgotten about it. Nobody references it. Nobody parodies it or references it or mentions it anymore. Anybody remember the environmental statement being made in that movie?
It is very much that. It is very much like a video game, almost to the point where you have a boss at the very end that you have to battle. That guy in the mech suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it is done very much like that. And even Hot Fuzz was done like that, and they even referenced the fact that they're going after the big boss, but they did that on purpose. They did that to make fun of movies like this, which very much this kind of follows suit with. Yeah, it's funny because the movie he did before this, which was also the highest grossing movie of all time, was Titanic, which was more about the story, the love interest between, Jack and Diane or whatever her name was.
I'm not.
And
James Cameron.
Yeah, and that's what you remember, and that was a good story, and you remember that story, and you remember the way those two acted and the acting job that they did. I mean, Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio are especially at that time, they were extremely good at their craft, and they really brought those characters to life.
Yeah.
And you really believed in their relationship and their tragedy. Whereas, you don't get a lot of that from Avatar. It's mostly him becoming comfortable being in the Avatar suit than it is the relationship he's formulating with the people or even with that one person. And that relationship, even though it's like almost a 3-hour movie, seems rushed because they need to get them to be a couple for them to get on to the next stage. So they're not going to spend a lot of time with that because they're worried about the action.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I see exactly what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. And I didn't think of that before. I mean, you're absolutely right that you don't really think about the love story that's there. You think just about the special effects.
Again, it's a really, really, really well made dumb movie. And I get that, and James Cameron, I'm on board with what he says about the climate, but he does himself a disservice in this movie because, again, it makes that point, but doesn't. There's no bite behind it. There's no. Again, going back to the Nolan movies, there's a theme there, and they make it a point to just hammer that home to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like they give it nuance, they give it gravitas. It becomes it's so encompassing that honestly by the end I'm kind of like less invested in the action and just more about what they're trying to do in that, with the statement they're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, in The Dark Knight, they're saying that people are, the statement there is that people are innately good. That scene where the Joker gives 2 different detonators to do 2 different boats filled with 2 very different kinds of people, and then they make it a point that scene is just done so well, where they give you the sort of the overarching thread of that movie is that people have innately good and they are worth defending.
Yeah,
and worth sacrificing for.
Yeah, and it's more powerful when you have the guy who looks like he's a serial murderer, or maybe not a serial murderer, but looks like the kind of guy who kills indiscriminately, who takes the detonator and throws it out the window.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy you would think would be okay with, lighting up the other boat and saving his own ass.
Yeah.
And he essentially dooms them all, and he just throws it out the window, and is like, we're going to be better than this, and that's an amazing thing right there.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like getting that point, that message behind it, and really sticking to it. Whereas in Avatar, it's kind of just like very vaguely, people are bad for the environment. Stop mining.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of back in the day, like what the white men did, stealing the land from the Indians, but
Manifest Destiny.
yeah, exactly, and it's just.
Well, no, right there, we've seen tons of movies that go into that subject and do it really well.
Yeah.
Geronimo, for instance. Have you seen that movie?
No, I don't think I have.
Or The New World with Colin Farrell. There's a bunch of movies out there like that that deal with the Native Americans and how they lost their land, and they take it very seriously. They go in with that. They're never going to, knowing they're probably never going to do it, but they try their hardest anyway, saying, we're going to do our Godfather.
Yeah.
And they treat it very seriously, and they don't trivialize it or dumb it down and make it what Avatar is, which is an immature version of that story.
Yeah.
I mean, had he gone into this film and done that, maybe I would like the movie a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't completely dislike this movie, but I don't love it either. If he'd given really serious kind of effort into that part, I probably would invest in this movie a lot more than I do.
Well, maybe that's why he's taking so long to do the sequels. Maybe he's trying to make a much better storyline for it all. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we should probably wrap this up a little bit since the dogs are getting restless and all.
Okay.
So for next week, Hamlet 2.
Hamlet 2.
Yes. I'm actually kind of sad that Mario wasn't here. I would like to have heard his thoughts about the nerd movie.
I always miss Mario when he wasn't around.
Yeah, but he's just as big of a nerd as the two of us are. So it would have been nice to have his input on this.
Maybe we'd have talked about the movie more.
We don't ever seem to talk about the movie as long as I think we talk about the movie for.
Well, it depends on the movie. We talked for a good 2 hours about Rubber.
Yes, we did, but that in and of itself is an amazing movie wrapped inside of a very bad movie.
You know why we didn't talk about this movie more? It's because of what I said earlier about how there's just so many tropes going on there, and how these kinds of movies and summer camp movies are so boxed in.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do.
I mean, they did the formula very well.
Yeah.
It's just very formulaic.
Yeah, there's nothing new there. There's nothing that sets this movie, really apart from the other ones.
Right. All right. Well,
So Hamlet 2 is better.
I'm sure it will be. It seems like a very irreverent kind of thing.
You know what we should do? Probably just to spark us for the theme for the next one, just to spark us to talk about these films a little bit better, or a little bit longer.
Yes.
We kind of start shooting for Birdmans and Dallas Buyers Clubs and stuff like that.
More highbrow movies.
Anything that's won, and probably something that's won an Academy Award or something.
Yeah, maybe we can do that next week, or
Well, after this theme we're doing kind of stops.
Well, I mean, it can kind of stop with Mario.
Yeah, I thought we were doing 2 more weeks of it because we usually do one each and then we do a consensus.
Well, if you want to do a consensus, we can do that, or if you want to just get on to the next theme, we can do that too.
Let's just get on to the next theme.
Okay, I figured that. So you want the next theme to be like movies that won or were nominated for Academy Awards?
I say let's do ones that win.
That one, okay.
Or and maybe movies that score like 90 or above on Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes. Well, why don't we do Academy Award winners this time, and then next time we can do like 90.
Okay.
90 or above. Okay. All right. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. I'd like to thank Jamal for joining us, and would like to condemn Mario to hell for not joining us.
I don't agree, buddy. Whatever you are listening to the sound of my voice, I hope you're not in hell.
Okay, maybe hell is a bit much. Maybe we can just condemn him to purgatory for not joining us.
How about we just condemn him to Ventura, California?
Yeah, that's what I said. Condemn him to hell.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, no, Mario's a good guy. So, I feel bad that he had to work today, but, he's got to make that money somehow. But he will be joining us hopefully next week, and that was his pick to do, I keep wanting to call it Tucson 2, but it's Hamlet 2.
Hamlet 2.
Hamlet 2. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Jamal. I forgot what your name was for a second. Sorry.
How many Jamals do you know?
You are the only one.
And yet, okay. End the show.
And your name is in part my name, so you would think I would remember it, but I don't. See, the ex-wife always said that I called her honey and baby because I could never remember what her name was, and then I'd always say to her, "That's not true, sweetie."
Well, okay. I want to ask for your name.
Wendy.
I didn't take you a second, Wendy.
Because it takes me a second, no matter whose name it is. I am horrible with names.
Who played the agent in Cliché?
Who played the agent?
My partner in Cliché.
Javier Figueroa.
Okay. What was my name in the movie Tex?
It was Tex.
There you go. What was the name of the female character from Tex? The actress.
The actress was Robin Cummings. I don't know what the character's name was. It was Naomi, I think. Wasn't it?
Well, the name of the 2 guys that started that movie too. There you go. Okay, never mind. We're good.
Well, I have the award that the one won from Macaulay that he won from the other movie that he was in that I did. I want to say Josh was the name of the other guy. Yeah. See. But anyway, so thank you. Now you got all these names in my head. I forget what your name is again.
Oh my god.
Thank you, Jamal, for joining us, and thank you, everybody else. And you all have a good evening.
I love you all.
Join the makers each week as they discuss film, TV, and pop culture. To learn more about them, go to mof.ninja. This is Jason Statham saying goodbye.